Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Wednesday, October 7th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. Today, Chiefs beat writer Sam McDowell joins me in discussing the latest news surrounding the Chiefs and COVID-19. Surrounding is a good word for it because it involves the teams on either side of the Chiefs' schedule. The Chiefs beat the Patriots on Monday night, and cornerback Stephon Gilmore tested positive on Tuesday. After the game, Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes and Gilmore greeted, as opposing players often do after the games. Mahomes today called that a mental lapse. Also, an unidentified Raiders player reportedly received a positive test. The Chiefs play the Raiders at Arrowhead on Sunday. On today's show, after Sam, you'll hear from Mahomes and Andy Reid. They spent a large portion of their weekly meeting with reporters discussing COVID and how the team is handling things. Let's get started with Sam McDowell. Sam McDowell covers the Chiefs for the Star, and we're here to talk about the news of the day. And Sam, when we get to toward the end of the season, and the team that you're covering is competitive, you tend to look at see what the other teams are doing in terms of maybe where you stand in the division race or the playoff chase. But here we are 4 weeks into the season, and we're trying to look at what other NFL teams are doing, not for playoff positioning or anything, but for health and safety reasons. And we got some news today that the team that the Chiefs just played and the team that they're about to play each had a player test positive for COVID-19 this week. And, of course, I'm talking about the Stephon Gilmore for the Patriots, and then a Raiders player who's not been identified also had a positive test. We heard from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes today about this, and I think that basically took up maybe 80-90% of Patrick Mahomes' interview time with the media today was on this topic. What were some of the highlights of Mahomes commenting with reporters today?
Well, the reason, Blair, that there were so many questions towards Patrick Mahomes is because there's video of him embracing Stephon Gilmore after the football game on Monday night. And it's kind of a half-hearted hug. And to Mahomes' credit, he acknowledged that. I think he called it a mental lapse, that he's used to greeting players after the game, kind of a high-five thing, acknowledging, hey, you had a great game, you're a great football player. But you can't do that stuff anymore. And the NFL and NFL Players Association set out protocols before the season that said, you guys can't do this stuff anymore. So I think the Chiefs got a little bit lucky. We'll see how the testing goes, that they have this reminder maybe without the positive test that comes with it. But obviously, we know the incubation period isn't always the next day, the next 2 days. So they're going to have probably some worrisome days over the next few days to see whether or not any players tested positive. Now, the players do wear contact tracers during football games, Andy Reid said today. And those contact tracers showed that no Chiefs player needs to isolate based on their contact with Stephon Gilmore during the game on Monday.
Sam, the NFL, and deservedly so, was getting some praise and high marks for the way that its teams were handling COVID-19. And then the news came of the Tennessee Titans with the several positive tests, and that continues. I think there were 2 more positive tests for the Titans today. They were hoping to get back into their training facility, and I don't believe that's going to happen. It just seems like we've hit a spot at the quarter point of the NFL season where worst fears are being realized. And it also just shows how difficult it is to, even with teams that do everything right, one team that maybe didn't do things right, and I'm thinking of the Titans, can affect other teams. We've already seen a Titans-Steelers game moved to later in the schedule, and now there's some talk about the Titans-Bills game this week, maybe not coming off, and we saw what happened with the Chiefs last weekend with the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it happen in baseball too, right? So, Patrick Mahomes, I thought, said something really interesting today that kind of relates to that. He said, if you thought we were going to get through the entire, and I am quoting this, if you thought we were going to get through the entire season and no one was going to test positive, then you have a little bit of false hope. So he's acknowledging that even the players knew something like this would happen. And to me, it just reemphasizes the importance of the actual protocols, which, it's probably a little bit of a crass way to say it, but can you really trust the teammate next to you? You have to act as though you cannot, and you have to social distance, whether it's during meetings. We learned today for the first time that even now, after the training camp rosters have been cut down to a more manageable number, they're still having some of the players meet virtually rather than all of the players being jammed into a meeting room just to ensure they still have the contact tracing. Now, you mentioned the Titans. The Chiefs could potentially be on the other end of the spectrum to where if one player gets it, and we don't know how Jordan Ta'amu got COVID-19, why he tested positive, whether it was something he did outside the facility that he shouldn't have been doing, or whether it was just plain bad luck. But if they have a player that gets it, and then for 7 to 10 days straight, nobody else on the Chiefs has it, to me, that's still a success story. That means you followed all your protocols inside the facility. I think it's too early to call it that because we're still only, 4 days after Jordan Ta'amu tested positive for this. But there's good. To me, the NFL should have foreseen this as well. We had Patrick Mahomes, like I said, admit that the players thought this could happen. And if the NFL I thought that they should have had a bye week later in the season to sort of say, we're going to have some canceled games. Here's where we can place those canceled games, whether it's week 15, week 16, nobody's playing. Maybe week 15, only the AFC, and the week 16, only the NFC currently has games, so you don't take a complete week off. But they're going to have some hiccups now and some obstacles to face once they get past teams' bye weeks, and it's not so easy to reschedule everything.
Right, you're right. There could be some adjustments of the postseason schedule because of this, and
absolutely,
or season reduction from maybe you go from 16 to 15 or 14 regular season games, and yep. There absolutely could be some changes. All right, we're going to get into it in a big way a big way tomorrow on tomorrow's SportsBeat Live. That'll start at 9:30 in the morning. I hope you guys tune into that. We'll have Sam McDowell will be there along with Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, and Herbie Teope. And we're going to take a break. And when we come back, you will hear what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid had to say about this and other topics at the news conference today. Thanks, Sam.
Hey, thanks, Blair.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
You ready for us?
Ready to go.
All right, we'll start with Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Patrick, the Patriots were able to sustain a bit of pressure on you without having to blitz much at all. How do you guys as a unit sort of correct that going into what will be another tough front seven against Vegas?
Yeah, I think, first off, I thought the offensive line did a good job. There was a couple times I was drifting a little bit, and so I'll do better at working within the pocket, especially when they're only rushing 3 to 4 pass rushers. I have to trust in them. And then just getting the ball in my hand and finding the right reads. There was a couple times in the game after watching film. I think I said it after the game, but even after watching film where there were some guys open, and I wasn't able to find them. And, that's a great defense, and we're going up against another one this week, so we have to accept the challenge every single play.
Let's go next to Vahe. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Patrick. I wonder if you could, 2 questions. I'll just ask the first one first, Brad, if you can hold on for me. What went through your mind when you heard about Stephon Gilmore testing positive, and how have you been just trying to process that?
I think you just have to trust in the process and the protocols that are set in place. I mean, obviously, knowing that I went up to him after the game and just gave him the high five like I've done my whole career, and not thinking about it. It was, a little bit of a mental lapse, just trying to show sportsmanship and stuff like that. But I feel like the protocols in place are good, and I just have to trust in that, wear my mask, do whatever Rick and them say, and then just trust in we don't all know what's happening in this world this time, but just accept the challenge every single day of being in the best place I can be to be available for the team.
And then the other part, Patrick, this is kind of personal, but I think it's pertinent. I mean, with you guys announcing that Brittany's pregnant, and then with Jordan last week and this, what kind of discussions do you have about that, or how do you process that aspect of all this?
Yeah, I mean, it is, and it's something that I think about every day. I mean, you have to think about that with her being pregnant and kind of that high risk category. And so I just try to do my best, especially after finding out Jordan was positive. Obviously, we stayed 6 feet apart, and our meeting rooms are set up to where we're far enough apart, or he's in the virtual meetings or whatever that situation is. But when I went home over the weekend, I slept in a different bedroom and stayed away from her as much as possible, and until I've kind of gotten these negative tests back. And so I just try to do my part to kind of keep myself away from her and social distance whenever stuff like this arises. But the only thing good about being here every single day, I get tested every single day, so it's good at keeping track of where I'm at.
Let's go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Patrick, you touched on this a minute ago, but I wanted to go back to it. You know, you were around Jordan Ta'amu, I'm sure, in the days before he tested positive, and then obviously there was the Gilmore thing. So what's your level of concern right now that you have or will soon get the virus, not just yourself, but the other quarterbacks, the rest of your teammates, your coaches, everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different time. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, and you knew that coming into this season. If you thought you were going to go through the entire season and no one was going to test positive, then you had a little bit of false hope. And so you just trust that the protocols in place are the right protocols. Kind of like I said, I mean, obviously with Brittany being pregnant, I try to do whatever I can to social distance and stay away, because it's even being available to the team, but even more part for me to just kind of stay and keep my family safe. And so I just do my best part of staying socially distanced, and obviously had a little lapse at the end of the game, just trying to show respect to a great football player who I hope is getting better very quickly. And I'll try to keep away from that and try not to do it again.
Let's go next to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Patrick. Certainly understand that you're so used to doing something like that with Stephon Gilmore after the game. I'm just wondering, does the NFL contact you after they see a video like that? Do you hear from the NFL or the Players Association that they kind of remind you not to do that?
The NFL talked to our team. I think talked to Rick, and they are in constant communication with Rick, the NFL and the NFLPA, and they do a great job of that. And Rick reminded guys after the game, and he also reminded guys today in our meetings of kind of the protocols and the different stuff that we have to do in the building and during the games. And so I think as long as we listen to those protocols, we can keep from hopefully having any outbreaks or anything like that, and keep it to an isolated incident, and hopefully be able to go out there and play the sport that we love every single day.
Let's go next to Matt McMullen. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Patrick. So you're a quarter of the way through the season now, and the talk all offseason was, run it back. We're not satisfied with the Super Bowl. But now you're 4 games into the season. You're undefeated, playing well on both sides of the ball. How proud are you of just the entire team in this group for taking that challenge seriously this year?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a special group of men to come out here and not be satisfied with coming off a Super Bowl championship and not relax. And I think that's what you're seeing with these guys is we're 4-0, but we're taking every week as serious as the next one, and taking every single day and really accepting the challenge and the opportunities that we have. Because in this league, every single team, every single week can beat you, and so you have to make sure you take them as serious as a Super Bowl game every week that you're here.
Yeah, 3 more hands up. We'll go right down the line. Darren, Sarin, and then Matt. Go ahead, Darren.
Hey, Patrick, a quick question. Obviously, with this whole COVID thing, I know you are the player rep for the Kansas City Chiefs. If it comes to a situation where players need to be isolated in a bubble hotel, so to speak, have you all had that conversation? And if so, what's the thought process if it comes to something like that? Would you all be willing to actually isolate yourself over the next few months in a hotel, so to speak, the team and the organization, to make sure that the season is able to be completed?
I think there's been a couple talks talking about situations like that between the Players Union and NFL and stuff like that. But I think if you look at kind of the transcript baseball did, and they had some outbreaks earlier in their season, and then guys kind of really got with the protocols, and they were able to get through the season without a lot of positive tests near the end of it. I think that it's a good transcript and a good blueprint for us. And so I think if we can just kind of get through, I mean, there's kind of just been one real outbreak and a couple positive tests here and there. But if we can get to the protocols and really enforce them within each other, within the players and within the coaches, I think we can get to where we don't have to be in that bubble situation. But if it happened, I mean, I know for me, I love the game. I know how special this team is, so I would be willing to do it. But I know it's different for every individual.
Let's go to our last two. We'll go Seren and then Matt. Go ahead, Seren.
Patrick, I'm curious, I know you guys, Andy's probably got a schedule for any kind of, you got a Saturday game, got a Friday game, got a Thursday game. He's ready to put it all together, but it's something that he plans for all year, right? You guys got this extra day thrown in there. Curious, what do you do with it? Do you pack in a little bit of Raiders prep since you lost a day there, or does everybody just relax? How does that change your preparation?
Yeah, I think with the players, you can't really prep for the next game. I mean, obviously we lost a day of the week, but you have to make that up yesterday when you're kind of usually on your kind of off day where you're just kind of getting a little bit in. You have to make sure you double up and get that day back. But for me, I watched college football. I prepared for the Patriots another day and got as much as I could in. And I tried to do my best to relax my body, and so I was able to go out there and play my best football.
We'll last to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Patrick, you were pretty tough on yourself the other night after the game, and it didn't sound like you were the guy that won a game by 16 points, maybe even lost the game. What is it just about your competitive nature and your self-criticism that when you have a stat line that, hey, would be a career day for some guys, that you're considering it a down game for you?
I think it's just setting the expectation at a very high level, and I think with the guys that we have on this offense and the guys that we have in this locker room, that we expect to go out there and score every time we hit the field. And when we have a game like last week where we're playing a very good defense, but we just weren't executing at a high level, then you're not going to put points on the board. But the good thing about this team is it kind of gets slept on, but the defense is a pretty good defense too. And so they kind of held their own like they've been doing all season and since the end of last season. And when you have good complementary football like that, you win football games.
All right, as far as injuries go, the only person that won't practice today is Dana. He has a hamstring, and we'll just take it day by day, see how he does. He is making progress, so we'll just see how it works out for him. Listen, we look forward to playing the Raiders. I mean, we know they're a good football team. They went in and got after New Orleans. They played the last two games right down to the end, so we know they're a good team, and they're very well coached, and they've got good players. So we've got to make sure we have a good week of preparation as we go forward. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Go first to Sam Mellinger. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy, this might sound a little bit off the wall. We all know what you think of Eric Bieniemy, right? And that you think he's deserving of a head coaching job. It seems to me, and I think some others, that you've name dropped him a little bit more in situations like this. I'm just wondering if that's intentional to try and make sure everybody knows who he is and what he does, or if that's just something that comes natural.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I do it with the coaches, and if they do a good job, I'm gonna tell you, I'm lucky to have the guys I've got. So, but listen, I'm pulling for him, but I'm not just throwing his name out there. Throw his name out there. That's not how I roll. But if he does, if he's deserving like the other guys, I'm going to mention it. Appreciate you asking, though.
Go next to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hi, Andy. Jordan Ta'amu tested positive, obviously, last week, and you heard about Stephon Gilmore now. There are pictures out there of him hugging and talking with Pat after the game. My question for you is, what's your level of concern right now that Pat or any of your players has the virus, your coaches, yourself? What's your level of concern with that right now?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, we take it day by day, and we try to do the best we possibly can at keeping ourselves as clean as we can, and at the same time learning every day. So, we're all wearing masks. We've been doing that, and more shields and whatever. I mean, whatever all the terms are, but we've tried to keep our nose and our mouth covered the best way we possibly can, and then try to be as safe as we can off the field. But listen, I think just like you guys, every day is a new experience that you got to kind of work through, and that's what we're doing.
Let's go next to Dave Scretta. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Andy, sort of piggybacking on that a little bit. Are you guys changing any kind of protocols? Are you isolating quarterbacks, and are they all being in the same room? Are you finding yourself adapting at all as the season goes on?
Yeah, well, what we do is we look at the numbers in the room, the space, and then we've got some guys doing virtual, some guys are doing, with the coach in room if there's space. So we've got it kind of mixed up here and there. Just to hide somebody out, I haven't done that. No. So I mean, that's kind of where we're at. If we have space, we've tried to utilize everything here. So we've eliminated the cafeteria to where that's a room for the players, and for the offensive line, we've utilized the indoor facility where we do our team meetings and so on. So we've got. After meetings, it looks like an Indy crew coming through, just cleaning up, changing the tires, man, putting the tables away and the chairs away and everything else. So, that's what we're doing.
Go next to Herbie. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, you had mentioned after Monday night's game that Chris Jones was a little tender, didn't play Monday night, but how optimistic are you that you should be able to ramp him up a little bit more this week leading to Sunday?
Yeah, I think he's feeling a little better, and we'll see how he does. I mean, we'll just take it. That's one of those day-by-day things. He had a groin strain, and so we'll just see how he feels. And if he can go, he'll go. If he can, he can't. But we'll see how it works out.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Coach, I had a quick question to Sam's point on Bieniemy. I know he was involved in the Fisher play recently. How much have you seen Eric grow as far as game planning and play design go since he became OC in 18?
Yeah, well, I mean, he does them. So, I mean, he's in there doing it grabs the coaches and they come up with these ideas and we roll, So, and then they let me in on it, so I know what's going on, but. I think Eric, one thing Eric is a phenomenal leader and of men, and he makes everybody around him better. And so, and his knowledge of the game is second to none. That's why I can answer questions and still look in the mirror and feel good about doing it. I mean, I just, I know how good he is and what a good football coach he is and a great person. So.
Connect to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, I know you guys do the contact tracing. Rick Burkhalter explained all that. And so you have all your information that you have on your team. But I'm curious, on game day, is there like a share, right? Like I know the Gilmore, there's video. You can see who was close there. But like for during the course of the game, like maybe Juan Thornhill never came in contact with James White or something, through somehow way. Is there a report that generates so that cross teams you can see who was in contact with who during a game?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everybody has these tracers on, coaches included. So we've all got them, and they can tell when you're around somebody and how much how much time you're with them, and and obviously the distance. The tracers are based off of distance. So it's a 6-foot area that you keep, and but yeah, that's they've got all the stats on it.
Got time for a couple more. We'll go Karen and then Sam. Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, Coach. For years we've talked about the Raiders rivalry, but is there anything different when the quarantine, the pandemic, and now they're the Vegas Raiders? I mean, is there something that's just different about it now?
No, listen, I don't think so. I think it's the Raiders against the Chiefs, and it wouldn't matter where we were housed at, but it'd still be the Raiders and the Chiefs, and that's how I look at it. So I mean, we look forward to it. I know they look forward to it. It's kind of fun. I mean, that part of it, the competition part of it, is one of those things. Now, I think they're playing really good football right now, and very strong. And they're going to bring it to you for 4 quarters, and that's how they roll. And you got to prepare yourself and have a good week of practice.
Let's go last to Sam McDowell. Go ahead, Sam.
Hey, Andy, I just wanted to make sure I heard two things accurately. On that contract tracing with the opposing team, that didn't result in any of your guys having to isolate or anything? And then I'll wait to ask the second one.
No. Yeah.
The virtual thing that you mentioned, is that something that's new, recent, or is that something you started off the year with having some of the guys do virtual and some of the guys in the actual room?
Yeah, so we did it in camp too, with a few guys, and then we've done it all season. Yeah.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to our production staff of Derek Donovan, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rose, and Chris Fickett, and Savannah Smith. Tip of the cap to Sam McDowell for stopping by and talking Chiefs. Links to stories about the Chiefs can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Hey, we've got another deal for you, especially for those who want to dive into the Stars' terrific Chiefs coverage. For a limited time, you can subscribe to Sports Pass for 99 cents a month. That's right, 99 pennies a month. After 3 months, it auto-renews at $5.99 a month unless you cancel. How do you get that? You go to kansascity.com/SportsPass2020. That's kansascity.com/SportsPass2020. You want more than just sports coverage? And I do. Check out the entire Kansas City Star product. Sports news, features, commentary, and analysis, the whole thing. You get all the stories written by my talented colleagues, plus additional news, sports, and business coverage with the e-edition. The details for all of these deals can be found at account.kansascity.com/subscribe. That's account.kansascity.com/subscribe. And if that's too many dots and dashes for you and you're having trouble hunting down these offers, send me an email at bkerkhoff@kcstar.com. bkerkhoff@kcstar.com. We'll get you to the right place. Whether it's the Sports Pass or the full subscription, you're getting and supporting the best sports and news coverage in Kansas City and helping us produce programs like SportsBeat KC. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back on Thursday with another episode.